In this video, we're going to be going over how the Facebook feed algorithm actually works. And believe it or not, Facebook actually tells you almost exactly how it does work. So I'm going to jump on my screen and show you guys right now. So when it comes to Facebook's algorithm for their feed, it is going to be slightly different from things like Reels and groups and those kind of things, but this is their main algorithm. Now, they actually share this on their Transparency Center, and you can find a document that breaks down a lot of these things and also ones for Reels and other things as well. So I took a lot of that information, put it into this document and consolidated it so we can go over exactly how their algorithm works. So they start by breaking it into a couple different categories. So what kind of things they look at. So when it comes to a post, the first thing they look at is data about the post's content. So this includes things. First off, they say if the post contains a URL, the ratio of the popularity of that URL's domain on Facebook versus the internet as a whole. So it's almost like SEO, how popular that website is elsewhere and on Facebook. They also look at the percentage of identical content between this post and other posts. So if you are just copying something and pasting it that already exists on Facebook, they are weighing that in as a factor. So unique content is going to get pushed more than everyone reposting the same thing. They look at whether the post likely contains nudity, graphic violence, or anything else that violates their community standards, which obviously wouldn't get pushed or would get taken down. And they also look at if the content in the post has been rated false or partly false by one of their independent fact-checking partners. So they want to push content that is accurate. So that's as far as the content they look at. Now, they also look at data about the media, so what the photo or the video includes. And they've mentioned that the width and the height in pixels of the photo or the video being shared. So anything that is HD is probably going to perform better and get pushed more than something that is 160 pixels only. So having high quality content and actually a decent aspect ratio will matter. They also have tools where they can see what visuals are contained in the photo. So they can see things on the screen, if there's text on the screen, if there's something that they don't want shown on the screen. So they're able to analyze that as well. And maybe that gives them some context on what the content's about as well. They also look at if the post contains video that loops or if it's an image. So if you are posting an image or a video, they obviously know that. And the last thing when it comes to data about the post is the topics the post is about. So they can get this from a couple different ways. They can do it from the text you're using in your content. So if you are writing about it under it, what keywords you're using, what kind of things and language you're using, and it can pick up on that. It can pick up if it's a video, what text is shown on the screen. Also, if there are voices talking, what is being said in those videos. They can take those captions and understand what the video is about from that. Same thing with photos. They can see what's on the screen and have it analyze and know what the topic in that piece of content is actually about. Now, the next section that they use when it comes to the Facebook feeds algorithm is data about how other users have interacted with this post. So that can be the total average amount of time people have spent viewing the post, the total average amount of time people have viewed a video in the post. So if it does contain a video, the total number of likes, the total number of comments, and the ratio of clicks, likes, and comments on posts out of all times it's been viewed. So pretty much this is saying it's engagement rate they're looking at and how long someone is actually staying on that post. And if someone stays longer on a post, they're probably a lot more likely to interact with it, whether that be going through comments, reading comments, typing their own, liking it, sharing it, whatever it is. So this is all about engagement. So this is a big factor for the actual data and the algorithm. Now, the next category they talk about is data about the actor, they call it, that created the post. So this is just the content creator. So they break it down into two different categories. So attributes of the the actor, and how other users have viewed and interacted with this actor content from this actor. So this would be you, the content creator. So they look at the actor, I'll say overall first. So are you posting as a profile, page, or to a group? These are going to affect how they use different algorithms. If a group post, the number of members in that group, so again, we'll just kind of gloss over this because we're not talking about groups right now. Number of confirmed community standard violations you have. So if you have a lot of violations, you're probably a lot less likely to have your content pushed because it could be seen as inaccurate, it could break their terms of service, and probably will be lower quality content. And then how many posts, which is videos, links, photos, etc., that you've shared during a certain period of time. So if you've been inactive for an extended period of time, you're probably less likely to get pushed. if you spam posts and post 20 times a day, you're probably less likely to be pushed because your content isn't as valuable piece by piece because it's coming out so frequent and they might think it's spam. Now, when it comes to how other users have viewed and interacted with your content, they talk about how many times this page has been viewed by users during a certain period of time. So are you relevant? Are people visiting your page and seeing it? That is one of the factors. Next is the total number of people following the page during a certain period of time. So just how many followers and how much you've grown over whatever time periods they're looking at. The total number of times content from your page has been shared by other users. So again, another engagement metric, sharing it with other people is probably one of the most important metrics because you are getting double the amount of views that way. And it shows that people like that content and want to share it with other people. And then another engagement stat, total comments, likes, shares on your actual page. So that's all the data about the actor. Now, the next and the final one before we get into the actual algorithm is the data specific to the viewer and the post. Now, when it says to you, this is from a consumer side, from a viewer's point of view, which is why they say data specific to you. So you have to think of this from the consumer side, the actual individual person that's seeing this, not from you as the creator side. So they look at how they've interacted with similar posts compared to the one you just posted. One of the things they look at is if they've liked this actual post before. Maybe if they've liked it, they won't show it to them again. Maybe they want them to view it a second time. Depends on what their goal is. Your total views on other content of the same type. So if this person is viewing other similar content to yours, they're probably going to be pushed more content around that same area. Total shares of other content of the same type. So again, you're just seeing these engagement metrics of similar content. Whether you're the admin of the page or your friend is an admin of the page that you shared the post from. So this again, slightly different. It just wants to know your relationship with it, and that will affect if they recommend it to that person. That we don't really care about. Total views of other posts from an individual group. So again, not talking about groups right now. Total shares of this content from this page. So if this person has shared your content before, they're more likely to see it again. And then again, they just talk about the admin stuff again down here. So those are the pieces of data that they're kind of taking and looking at. And if we go to the next section, they talk about their prediction model, and they have a bunch of different prediction models, which is kind of the algorithm. And we just read the little pieces of it, but their prediction models kind of fall into 4 categories, they say. So first, predictions about actions you'll take on the post, which will be engagement. Predictions about how you'll spend time viewing the post. Are you in the comments? Are you watching the video a ton? Are you just swiping through a bunch of posts? Predictions about your interest in the posts or that person or group. So again, that would be the author side. Are you interested in a certain topic? Are you interested in all content from a certain person? So they'll kind of categorize it like that. And then predictions about how others will interact with the post if you take certain actions. So they actually look at they'll look at how likely you are to share, or a user is to share your content. And if that person shares it, how well that content will perform once they share it. So they're looking at your content and then that individual person's almost audience if they were to share it as well, which is a factor, which is kind of crazy that it goes that deep for them. And they break their prediction model into 3 categories. They call it most frequent, used occasionally, used less frequently. So we're just going to go through these a little bit, and you can understand these are the main factors to predict which type of content they should give a person. And these are kind of influenced by these factors that we talked about up here. So first, how likely you are to be interested in content from your friends. We don't really care about that. How likely they are to be interested in the group that shared the post or the content from the group. And they even say it's measured by engagement with the group or its content, so previous interactions too. How likely they are to be interested in the page. So again, this is the same thing as above, it's just page versus group. They group those 2 together. How likely you are to click on some part of the post, so any part interacting with it. How likely you are to interact with a post in some way by liking, reacting, or commenting on it. So you can see this means that this isn't just clicking an interaction piece. This is actually clicking into the post farther, maybe pausing a video, clicking into the image. So this is different than just the interactions here. How likely they are to meaningfully interact with the post. Now, we don't know exactly how they measure meaningfully, but they do say it's a combination of commenting, liking, reacting, sharing to Messenger, resharing, or spending time viewing it. So maybe it is a combination of certain factors. So if they do 2 of these, that's automatically meaningful. But maybe if they like, but also spend a lot of time viewing the post, that also classifies as meaningful. So they could weigh these differently, but I'm sure it's a combination of some of them. How likely they are to share the post. Again, share is very important. Gets it in front of double the amount of people at least when someone shares it. How likely they are to spend time viewing comments. So this will normally show interest on a post because they are looking at comments, what people have to say. This is normally more engaging content and again, can show interest in the topic or in the page or person that's actually posting it. How likely they are to spend time viewing the post, even if they don't click into it, or content in the post as opposed to just scrolling past it. So it's almost like mini click-through rate, or even if they just stop on it, maybe they have a set amount of time. If someone stops for 2 seconds, maybe that counts as a view instead of just a scroll past. So capturing attention in those first couple of seconds is important. How likely they are to visit a page after seeing a post from that page. So this is one of the factors where getting people from just a view to actually look at more content on your page or mentioning something on your page or in your group can be beneficial because it does, again, show interest in whatever that page's content is. And we saw those other factors where it talks about if they viewed, how much content they viewed and how much they've interacted with from your page in general. So it is important to get people from just a viewer to your actual page. That's also how you grow. How likely they are to want to see more or less content from the person or page who shared it. I'm not sure if this is just where they can click on the button and it says see more or see less. I'm assuming that's what this is here. So if they're clicking on those, that's going to affect it. If they say see less, obviously it's negative. If they say see more, that's a positive. How likely they are to watch a video in a post and the predicted amount of time they'll spend watching it. I'm not sure how they come up with the predicted amount of time. Maybe it's the topic and just how, on average, how much time they do spend watching a video. But that watch time and time on a post does seem important through all of these. How likely they are to interact with the post on a page. Now, this one's really interesting. How likely the person's interactions on the post from a page will encourage the admin of that page to share more content in the future that is valuable to you. So I think it's saying it's looking at if you've interacted with a piece of content and then that author posts more content like that and you interact with it again, that's beneficial to the content creator. But this one is a little confusing. I don't know exactly how they go about it or measure this. The predicted amount of additional comments or replies a post will get if you comment or share on it. So if you are giving valuable insight, and then the predicted amount of additional comments or replies a post will get if an individual person does share or comment on it. Again, they were measuring if someone is likely to share a post, how many impressions and views and interactions that would get. And that kind of ties into this right here. And then they have used occasionally and used less frequently. And you can just see things like how likely someone is to comment, likely they are to find a news article informative, if it's worth your time, just a couple extra things, how likely you are to like a post. So this used most frequently is what you should really be focusing on, and the things they mentioned above, because they're saying they use this prediction model the most. They use this a little bit, and then they use this rarely on the occasionally here. And I'll just go through these really quick so you guys can see them. So how likely you are to comment on the post, find a news article informative, find the post worth your time. Again, not sure how they measure that. How likely you are to follow a page after seeing a page post reshared by a friend. Likely you are to hide or snooze or unsubscribe a post. How likely you are to like or react. And if you react with a negative emotion, then it reduces that distribution, they even say. The predicted number of additional times the post will be shared if the post will get reshared by yourself. So that individual, how many shares it'll actually get if they reshared it. I think that's partly finding relevant content in networks of people. And then the predicted number of likes the post will get if that person were to share the post. And then use the least is how likely they are to like the post and spend time viewing the post from a page that they have favorited, how likely they are to report the post, send the post in a message, take an action to support a creator, so sending a star or a tip or those kind of things, how likely they are to watch a video in a full screen viewer instead of just vertical, and then the predicted amount of time they might spend in the web browser if they click on a URL in the post, so they are actually tracking that. And then type specific is just if you're doing a group or an event. These are down here. I'm not going to spend time on these though. So you have all these different factors that go into their prediction model, and they talk about the things they actually look at in the data that go into that and recommending the post. So it's important to take all of these in and understand them and how they actually affect the algorithm and what's being presented to viewers and how it's being done. So that's going to be it for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.
Tired of feeling overwhelmed with marketing your small business? Let our experienced marketing team help your business grow. With personalized strategies tailored to meet your needs, we'll help you stand out in a crowded market. Contact us today for more information at foxsocialmedia.com.